Hello and welcome back to COAGG Conversations. We are here on our very special summer series and Women Behind the Games. We have the amazing opportunity in this series to be chatting to some really wonderful devs who are women. And it's absolutely fantastic to have Sammy with us today. Hello.
Hello, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm so excited to tell you about what I do, how I got here, and some of the things that make games amazing to work on.
This is Sammy, and she is the lead developer for Fruit Ninja at Halfbrick Studios. All the information for the game will be in the description if you want to check that out. But I don't think there's anyone on this. I think everyone knows what Fruit Ninja is. Like
A fruit slicing game where ninjas hate fruit.
Where ninjas hate fruit. Let's start with that game. Have you always, from its creation to now, have you always worked on it, or did you come onto the project like in the middle?
Yeah, so for me, I was not there at the very, very start of Fruit Ninja. I came in about 5 years into its lifetime. And because Fruit Ninja is a game that continues to evolve and we continue to provide new content for it, it's a live service game. We always have a team of people working on it because it's something that people really love. It's something that people really enjoy. And we want to make sure that we keep that alive for many years to come. So when the project actually started, I had a small team prototyping. They were trying to find a new way to use the iPhone, which had just come out at the time. And once they had this concept of like, oh, I can move my finger across the screen, that could actually be a slash or a slice. And then somebody had the idea of let's put a watermelon there. And if you want to know more about the history of Fruit Ninja, you can go find some of that on YouTube as well.
I must say, like, that's where I first played Fruit Ninja on an iPhone. I didn't have an iPhone at the time, but my friend did, and that very we do it today, and now we're swiping left and right on Tinder and all sorts of things now, and really it began with Fruit Ninja.
Yeah, and I'm sure back then you were probably competing against your friend's high score. I know that we used to pass our phones around and it was always like, oh, who can get the best one? Who can last the longest? And I think because it was very accessible and fun and fresh, it really took a lot of people's attention.
Mm-hmm. So how are you finding it these days? How's the game going these days? Because it's not downloaded on my phone.
Yeah, so Fruit Ninja these days has an entire family of games. So we have the free versions on the mobile still that are ad supported and also IAP supported. We have some premium versions. We've got the Fruit Ninja Classic Plus on Apple Arcade's subscription service. And we also do have a version of Fruit Ninja Classic that is on Halfbrick Plus, which is our own service that we've been launching this year. And we've also got the VR titles. We've got Fruit Ninja VR 1 and 2. And there's always more possibilities in a universe where you get to use your powers and your abilities to make fruity, messy destruction. And if we can find new ways to do that and new ways to remix that and make you feel powerful, we want to keep doing that as long as people keep enjoying it.
It's very empowering and it's very motivating. You're building up that number and those scores, and it's a very iconic franchise to be working on. Definitely. What is your favorite part about working on the game?
I think my favorite part is just the way that we design our feedback in the game, the way that we slice the fruit, all of the juice particles come out, the sounds that we have. We actually have our own in-house sound team. We don't contract that out. So those people are always on board and always like ready to make. Yeah.
Are you saying that there's a room where people actually slash the fruit?
Not exactly. We do have our sound people do make Foley. So I'm sure people have cut fruit in order to create some of the sounds in Fruit Ninja, but there's all sorts of tricks and magic that go behind making those sounds, like those like or like those like
Yeah.
sound as good as they can. And especially when you're in VR, we want to make sure that that sounds kind of like if you slice something over there, you hear it and it feels real, even though it's not.
Yeah, I think it's a really amazing thing that Fruit Ninja has evolved into the VR space, because that's where it can grow more. So it's taking it out of the phone and into this virtual reality space where you're actually moving your body to slice instead of just your finger.
Yeah, which is really, really cool.
I
Yeah,
I love
and
those
even
features.
now, like we've even moved past the concept of slicing with a sword to slicing with bows and arrows and crossbows
Hmm.
too.
Yeah. Oh, is that from the VR?
Yes, the VR
Yeah.
VR2 has those extra fun weapon capabilities where you can actually feel, I can get that fruit even if it's far away. Oh no, I did a thumbs down. I'm sorry. I
How
didn't
did you
mean to
do
do that.
that?
I think I meant to. I was trying to pull a bow. Maybe I can give a thumbs up. Is this a streaming software? I'm so sorry.
I've never seen it do that before. That's okay. We can
But
take that
we're
out.
interactive. We're in a game right now.
I didn't wait. Really? No, that's not. That must be your camera.
How did it do that? Yeah,
I
maybe
don't
it
know.
was my camera. I don't know.
I've had people do lots of different movements, and that's never happened before.
Oh well, that's a fun
Oh well.
surprise. Easter egg, Easter egg. Yeah.
um, well, awesome, fantastic. If you haven't played Fruit Ninja, you don't know what it is. Click the links down below. Check it out. I love that it's free, and you can play it on. It's on iOS, and it's also on Android
That's right.
now. Yeah, so it's not limited to just the iPhone anymore, which is amazing. I don't have a VR setup, but if you do, sounds like a really, really fun time. Yeah, love to see it. Now, your career as a dev, I'd really love to like dive into that. So
Absolutely.
what started it? How long ago? What did you do? How did you get into game development?
So, funnily enough, I've nearly been doing this for 10 years now, which is an
Congratulations.
incredible amount of time in this industry when some people, mm, especially in bigger companies, don't manage to survive for that long, which can be a bit of a problem. But
Mhm.
I got into this industry because I was studying at university an IT degree with games development electives. It was always my dream and my passion to become a games developer, but I wanted
Oh.
to educate myself in a way where if I couldn't get into that industry because I knew it was going to be a real challenge to get in, I could have a
Mm.
fallback of being able to be just a regular software developer, web designer, one of those kind of areas. But I was lucky enough to do an internship during my course that got me into a game developer in Melbourne. They're no longer around, but I was working on some racing games and some sports games with them, helping do like little automations, helping them test and make sure that all of the games were working properly, working on physics, UI, really just getting my sense of like how everything fits together in a game. And
Mhm.
then I actually went to the first ever PAX Australia, which
Hey,
was at
shout
the
out.
Melbourne Showgrounds before it moved to the big old convention centre. And at that PAX Australia was when Halfbrick were exhibiting. They had
Mm.
a massive booth. They were celebrating the release of their new game called Colossatron at the time, which is about an out of control mechanical dragon that terrorizes cities, and you have to upgrade it and essentially unleash destruction upon these poor, hapless citizens of Earth. So they were promoting that game. They also did some dev talks, and the way that they came across as developers who were laid back but also really passionate and like loved games for all of their life really like ignited something in me. And when I
Mm.
saw that they had job applications open, I just applied right away. I did some interviews. I was able to go to the studio, which was in Brisbane, and I got to meet my team. And it turned out that I was going to be put onto the Fruit Ninja team once I started. But they, at the end of the day, they're like, "Yeah, we love you. We think that your programming skills are what we need, and we'd like to have you start really soon." And now, 10 years later, here I am. I've worked on multiple different Fruit Ninja games, other little prototypes, and I just think it's one of the best places that I could be.
That's incredible. And you've been there for so long, and you just, it really warms my heart, especially, when you do hear about these, multi-million-dollar companies like letting go of their devs, and it can be. Have you ever felt like uncertain in this career choice, unstable, if in any
Yeah, I
way?
mean, when you hear about what happens in those situations, you're really devastated because these people have poured their heart and soul into creating something. They wanted
Yeah.
people to be excited or terrified or whatever experience they're creating. They're trying to
Mm,
get an emotional connection with their players. So sometimes the financial side of that and the business side of that isn't always compatible with the creative side. But I'm
mm,
very lucky to be working for a company that has been able to go from work for hire, as in making games for other publishers and kind of taking licenses and creating experiences for those, to moving to their own IP. So we used to make games for, say, we worked on some of the Avatar: The Last Airbender games and some
mhm.
other kind of sort of games around the GameCube, Game Boy Advance days. And then once Fruit Ninja happened, that kind of changed everything. It
Yeah.
allowed us to have financial backing to keep our people, to grow our people, and make sure that we could then create the next generation of games that could continue that cycle. And that's where we are today.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, it feels like the best practice for games and the game development side of things, because at the end of the day, you want people to stay with the company. You want to have a good working environment for everyone, and you want them to really care about the game, because they're going to know it the best. And
That's exactly it. And like
mm,
all of our ideas come from within as well. So there's no bad ideas, there's no silly ideas. It's like, okay, we think this can work, we're gonna prove it. We're gonna make prototypes and we're gonna be like, we're gonna show you that this is fun and then take it through a full production cycle. But some
mhm.
prototypes don't make it. That's just how things
Yeah,
go. Not
no.
every idea is gonna work. We've had to throw out a lot of like stuff too, but what has come through and what has shown through are
Mm.
definitely our best ideas, and they resonate with our players for sure.
That's really, really cool. And I'm so happy that you found this incredible space in the gaming development community. It's fantastic to hear. You obviously have a lot of passion for what you do, and I have a feeling that you don't let anything kind of kind of take away from your feelings of enjoying your career. Do you feel at any time that you're at a disadvantage because of your gender within the gaming space?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because as it stands right now, I'm the only female programmer at our studio. We have a lot of women in other roles in art, design, production, sound, like across every
Mhm,
other discipline, but we've only ever had maybe two or three women programmers at the studio. And I think that's where we need to still do a bit more work and we need to still get people more excited about what programming can do and how you
mhm,
can like use that as a skill to really make things come alive and create magic. And I really
mhm.
hope that more women can get into that discipline. And so that's, I think, where I found a bit of a disconnect sometimes when I am in a community of more technical minded people or programmers, that because of the gender imbalance there can be sometimes it just either feels like it's harder for people to take us as seriously, and it
Mm.
can be harder for us to kind of come across as these like sage, wise kind of people that I think that more masculine people tend to kind of get by default.
You know what? You are hitting the nail on the head there, because I'm very fortunate to have had so many generous women who've invested their time with me, and I really appreciate that. But from that, I've found a lot of women do struggle with respect in either the content creation space, or the more professional side in creating games or promoting games. And when you are working in these teams, it is very tricky to uh, not come across as, yeah, I guess, angry I think is
I
the
think for
term.
me, like, I can totally understand that, and, like, especially when you wanna speak directly and you want to communicate
Yeah.
clearly, it can seem like you're disobeying a stereotype in a way, but for me,
Yeah,
the other
wow,
difficulty
that's
I have
powerful.
is,
Mm,
not being taken seriously because I seem like I'm aloof, I'm very lighthearted, I'm very fun, I'm very bubbly, but
mm,
really, that is my passion showing. It's
yeah.
not me not taking something seriously.
Oh, Sammy, that's just chef's kiss, darling. That is absolutely the tea. That is what I am trying to showcase here, and you have just you've just ah, like
So
Dave.
I
Thank
want to
you.
show that
Thank you.
anyone can create and anyone can put their
Yeah,
heart into something. Anyone can build incredible things. You just need to be given the chance to do that. And I'm
yeah.
very lucky because the company that I am with does value me and my team
Mhm.
members do value and respect me. And I think that's
That's
what's
great.
allowed me to stay in this industry for so long.
Yeah. Like I said, it sounds like very, very fortunate for you to have found a little home for yourself, which is obviously very, very empowering. But yeah, do you ever get feelings of like, I suppose because you don't see similar people around you in your team, and that's totally fine. But do you ever feel like, do you ever get like imposter syndrome or, like, oh, is this the right space? And how do you combat those kind of that negative self talk?
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually a very positive person. There's definitely
Mm.
times that I've doubt myself where I've submitted something to the source control and then someone's like, why is this not working anymore? I'm like, I'm so sorry. Let me just quickly fix it up. I know exactly what's going on and I can fix
Mhm.
that. I just missed one little thing. And sometimes that is a bit embarrassing, but you just take those and you move on because if you have a good team around you, they're not going to bring you down. They're going to make sure that, okay, yeah, no, she's on top of it. She knows what she's doing. That was just a little mistake, and we all make mistakes.
Mhm. Yes,
So
we
that's
certainly do.
something more day to day that I deal with. When I'm in, I guess, bigger industry spaces like those conferences and conventions and things like that, I think it's more just like me noticing how women are perceived, and I want to make sure that they're taken seriously too, like whether it's someone who's on an esports team or whether it's someone who's exhibiting a game or whether it's even just someone who's coming up to play a game and try it out, that they can be themselves and be authentic in that space and in that role and not be sort of looked down upon just because of their gender.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it's that unconscious bias, I think, that a lot of
Hmm.
people do have in this industry, and probably, extending into other industries as well. But I think I feel like we're at a turning point. I think women are becoming more passionate and more confident to
Hmm.
show their interest in these kinds of things. I really noticed it when I was lucky enough to be invited to South by Southwest, and they had a student showcase there. And there was one particular team that had all women on it. And I thought that is really cool.
That's
But
really cool.
yeah, it was so amazing. And you know what? They're so aware of how important they are to,
Hmm.
tell these stories, to implement their magic into these worlds, into these teams. And it's, there's obviously I think people that are passionate about this issue, we just want a balance. It's not
We
about
do.
one upping
Yeah.
one another.
No. And we just want to be seen as more than just like caretakers or timekeepers or people just to organize things for other people because that's not necessarily our role. There are people who are really good at that, but we shouldn't just be expected to do those things on top of our role by default, too.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, have you moved up in the company, or is there kind of like a ladder or like a career trajectory that you have in place for yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it was moving out of being what we used to call an associate developer just into a developer role, and then moving towards a lead developer where you're someone who it can be relied upon, who has a lot of technical knowledge, who can pretty much deal with any situation. And I feel like I've kind of got there now through mentorship and through just time spent honing my
Mhm.
craft and working on different projects. And then as kind of I've progressed through that, it's become almost my responsibility to make sure that I'm bringing other people up there too. And so overall, our company does have a pretty flat hierarchy. We've got people who lead projects and manage projects, and we've got our executive team that help make sure the company's running smoothly. But for the most
Mhm.
part, we're all developers, we're all valid, and we all have things to contribute. Some people just have higher output if they have been like around for longer, or they've kind of got those special skills that not everyone has.
So, sorry, I don't know what you mean by output. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. So that just means like how much work you're being able to get done, like how quickly you're able to work through your tasks and make sure that we're getting to our next
okay,
milestone.
okay.
How you are able to attack bugs and solve those tough problems that might
Mhm.
be holding you up for days at a time sometimes. But once you break through, it's like okay, we can move forward now.
Okay. Can you maybe it might be a little bit more beneficial if maybe you could walk me through like a day in your life, like
Yeah,
a typical
absolutely.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where we usually start is we all get in and we'll catch
What
up on
time?
maybe so we start usually around 8:30, but we have
Okay.
flexible working hours, so you can start as early as 7, you can
Mhm.
finish as late as like 5:36, but we try to keep core hours so that we can communicate with people who are also in the same company but might be in different locations. And so that it means that like if we do need to reach out to someone, we can.
Mhm.
So we start maybe, so my day usually starts around 8 o'clock. I'll have my coffee with me that I would have brought with me in the morning. I
Mhm.
usually just work through maybe some notes I left for myself the day before of like, okay, I need to check out this, this, and this in the morning, make sure everything's good there, maybe review my work from the previous day. Then about an hour into our workday, we have our stand up, which is where we get the whole team together. We talk about what everyone is working on and if there's any issues or if there's anything we need to collaborate on specifically. And we just review what we're doing over the next few days as a team, what our goals are for that week. And then we break off again and we sort of work through until lunchtime.
Mhm.
And through that time, we might be collaborating, we might be reviewing stuff, we might just be headphones on, focusing, trying to get something done. Lunchtime is an hour, and I think that's really important because we need some time to let our brains settle again and think and sometimes process some of those tougher problems that we might have been stuck on. And I think if you have too short of a lunch break, sometimes it feels like you're not actually really letting yourself calm down and slow down again, which is necessary, I think, to be creative.
Yeah,
And then once we
definitely.
get through that lunch break, we do. So we usually go through till about 4:30 or 5, depending on what we're doing. Sometimes we'll work less, sometimes we'll work more, just depending on deadlines or just overall situation of the work that we're doing. And we all say goodbye to each other and go home, and then come back the next day.
Amazing. Oh, sounds very collaborative, and I think that's really important for this kind of role. How do you foster that within your team while staying true to who you are as a person?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to like a team doesn't necessarily mesh together right away from the start. You've got to learn about each other. You've got to understand how different people communicate. So we've actually done training in communication for the
Oh,
entire company
really?
so that we know how different types of people communicate and we know how to say things in a way that is trying to like if we do have feedback, for example, we're trying to talk about maybe certain behaviors or just the outcome of certain things. We're not trying to say you as a person have messed up, but you
Mm,
you this situation has happened and we can learn from that and we can do better, that kind of thing.
yeah, definitely. I think that's really amazing that your company has invested in that professional development for the team because that would increase productivity. It would create, staff retention, promoting, better work conditions. That
Yeah.
is huge.
And at the end of the day, we're passionate people, we're emotional people. We can't always separate ourselves from our work or like
Mm,
any maybe mistakes we make from ourselves. But we do have people to back us up and say, okay, if you're stuck on something, we can work together and get through this.
yeah,
And as long as you keep showing up, as long as you keep wanting to move forward, that's how we keep making games together.
yeah. No, a fantastic way to see that for sure. Are there any like personal goals that you have for yourself? If you're willing
Yeah,
to
I
share.
think for me, it's really just making sure that I can like continue to learn new things, like whether that's like a new technology that shows up, whether it's a new platform like VR comes out, and like how
Mhm.
does this work?
Mm,
um, and I like to be relevant. I like to make sure that if a problem does come up, that I can solve it. I like to share information too, so I think that's one of my goals personally. Is like how can I share the things that I know with other people, or if someone gets into this situation, how can I make sure that they're prepared for it?
mhm.
And because I think I am a very conscientious person, so I like to make sure that everyone else can avoid as many speed bumps as possible. And sometimes you just need to like let them go off and have a little wander and have a little adventure and learn something from that without holding their hand. But if they ever just were like, how does this work? I'm like, oh yeah, this is this, and this, and that's how they plug together. And we can do that too.
That's really awesome. Those goals are very. I feel like they really blend with your personality from from what I can see very very well. So well done for that, because those kinds of goals and that goal setting, it's not invested in numbers. It's not an earning amount, or it's not a role, a title, or anything like that. You're literally trying to make the world like a better place to work in. Um, and that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Need more
that makes me
people
really
like that.
happy that you've responded to me in that way and you've acknowledged that. It makes me really, really happy.
Oh, no, I'm truly, truly grateful. I feel like I'm getting such a pot like you think about all of the news around game development and the outrage, and I know people just create that noise for clicks and things like that, but I think a lot of studios are actually really wholesome and welcoming and
I
fun.
think they are, yeah. And I love to see, I think like we've got a special culture in Australia because everyone kind of knows each other. You see the same kind
Mm,
of people that show up at conventions or meetups or just like around town. You're like, oh, how's this going? Or people maybe leave a studio and go somewhere else. Their kind of life journey changes, and not everyone's going to stay in the same place forever, but you
yeah.
see them again and they're doing well and you're happy for them. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be similar cultures like that all around the world too. But we don't have a lot of mega studios in Australia. It's lots of little ones, and they're all kind
Yeah.
of doing little bits and pieces that are unique and special. And I think when things can be a little bit more organic like that, you can have a pretty harmonious environment.
For sure. I do crave like a mega Aussie AAA studio. I think we have so much talent here, and we could tell some really powerful stories through creating a studio like that.
For
Ah,
sure.
it would
I,
be
I'm sure.
amazing.
I'm sure we can, like, in time, we can get the right people around that kind of thing. We can get the
Yeah.
right funding for it, and it's actually
Mhm.
been really good to see over the past few years the government get a lot more involved in interactive
Yeah.
media and games to
Mhm.
really realize the not just the economic potential of those things and the export potential of those things, but also the cultural exports that we can have from
Yeah.
our games and our stories too. You even
Definitely.
just see things like Untitled Goose Game and how that took over the world
Yeah.
for a weekend, and just that Aussie sort of larrikinism and spirit.
Yeah.
And I want to share more of that with the world too.
Definitely. Do you find any, if we're going to talk about, I guess, cultural differences, do you find the team in Australia versus, you mentioned that some of your team is overseas, is there any kind, do you feel a little bit of a disconnect there at all, or do you feel like, you know, the training that you've received, and they've received, has really helped with that?
That's a really interesting question because, yeah, we do have people all over the world, which means sometimes you'll be logging in, or you'll be having a meeting at 4 o'clock in your afternoon, which is just their morning time, and you'll be syncing up.
Yeah.
And you might not have been able to see these people in person, or like people might be working from a different state than you, and you only see them on video. But what the company tries to do is every couple of years actually bring everyone together and actually try and get
Oh,
everyone to meet in person.
that's
So
amazing.
one thing we were able to do last year, which I'm really fortunate that we were able to do this, I feel very fortunate, is that our CEO is actually from Fiji. And so we actually
Okay.
brought everyone from the company over for a week in Fiji just before Christmas. And that was very special. Like I can't understate how generous like it is for a company to do something like that, and to bring
Yeah.
us all together in that way and make sure that those people that we've only seen on video screens, especially through COVID as well, when everyone was work from home, can actually put a real face and a real like sense of who this person is and make those memories that last and stay with you, so that when you work with those people again, like you do feel a connection with them. But overall, I think it's just more of a hiring policy thing. Like when we hire someone, we don't just hire them for their technical skills, but we make sure that they're going to be someone who is going to like mesh with the culture, or challenge the culture in healthy ways. I suppose, like, we're not just going
Yeah.
to create
Yeah.
a culture of clones, because that's no fun and that's not creative. But we want to make sure that these people are people that are trustworthy, that are fun, that are passionate, and usually the technical skills like come after all of that personality sort of stuff.
Mm.
And when
That's
you do have all those people who do align themselves and can kind of agree with the goals of what the studio is trying to do, I think it doesn't matter where they are.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, uh, because you can't, as much professional development there is out there, you can't train the right kind of personality or the right kind of work ethic that a group of people might need. So understanding, putting that first, and then saying, okay, how do they check on their technical skills, I think is probably a really way to be successful. Yeah, no, love to see that. I mean, we should either talk about it more so other people can see it,
Mhm.
or do it more. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I'm not quite sure which one it is, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. And like every company is gonna have their own secret sauce, right? Every company is
Yeah.
gonna have their own way of doing things. Like we have like an internship period as well, where we make
Hmm.
sure that this person, like we've only just got to know them. So we work with them for a period of time, usually that's about 6 months. We make sure that they're happy and they're achieving things, and they're also like helping everyone else around them. And if that's all
Mm,
good, they stay. But that doesn't always happen. Like
yeah.
sometimes it's just better to say, okay, we really tried, but this didn't work. So we wish you all the
Hmm.
best. And that's
And
just kind
yeah,
of one of those things, like, you can't please everyone in life, so
no, exactly. But you know what? You didn't. I, I anyone who has this kind of mindfulness and this really kind of healthy vision of themselves and their work and all that, that's not something that people just have. It's developed over time. Sammy today is not the Sammy she was when she first entered the game
absolutely not.
development stage. Is there anything like outside of work that you feel like has attributed to that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think having great friendships and having a great support network outside of my job has really allowed me to feel like I'm myself and maintain my identity, even though a big part of your identity is your work if you work full time. But I've got my hobbies, and I've got all the things that I can do. I have a close relationship with my family too. But I think trying to keep all of those things in balance has kind of led me to where I am today, where I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I found a job that's stable. I found a job where I feel valued, and I can use my expertise to like create things I feel good about, like how I've grown. But I'm more than anything just kind of grateful for all of that. And I'm not trying to take that for granted. And I think that's the attitude you need to have, is that you do not get anywhere alone. It's the people around you that kind of help you along that journey. And there are definitely are people that can achieve things on their own, but I like to think that um, I need those people around me to remind me that I am strong, and also just um, for I need that connection, I think.
Yeah, definitely. The work-life balance, I think, is a big challenge for pretty much everyone who works full time. And I think, in particular, women who do a lot of the maintenance, the household chores,
Mhm,
the timetabling, the caretaking in their families, all of those kinds of obligations, whether it's children or a partner or whatever it might be, a dog.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It often does, you know, uh, get assigned to the woman in the house. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, you definitely have to kind of create these schedules and trial and error things to see what works and what's beneficial to you and how you do
Yeah,
life.
and you need to communicate with the people around you, and
Yeah.
sometimes, it doesn't always work out with every friend that
Yeah.
you meet or every new person that comes into your life. Like, even, like, family, we don't always see eye to eye on everything, but,
Hmm.
you either make it work or you find a way to move past that.
Yeah. Amazing. Is there any one in particular that inspires you in your life?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I actually, I used to watch Twitch streams a lot, just in my
Okay.
downtime, and there's this one streamer, she goes by the gamer tag Hafu, or it's Hafu, and she
Hmm.
is someone who used to play Hearthstone really competitively and tried
Oh.
to get to the leaderboards on that, get to Legend every month, that kind of thing. And she's moved through numerous different games, but I've always been inspired by her ability to excel in something and to really apply herself and show that she can be at the very top, because I'm also a very competitive person.
Oh, okay.
And so seeing someone exceed in that way, but also have this bright, bubbly personality is
Yeah.
very inspiring. So that's
Mhm.
definitely one of my inspirations. And then it's just like people, or especially like women who have been in this industry longer than I have, whether that's
Mhm.
like a Brenda Romero, or whether that's uh, I'm forgetting names because I can't get them off the top of my head, and I haven't written them down ahead of time, which is what I would usually do. But yeah,
That's okay.
pioneers who have
Yeah.
like written stories, or they've created amazing things. Even just like say like Ada Lovelace, and how she was able
Yeah.
to understand those kind of computing concepts like back then when she
Mhm.
was alive. So I guess
Yeah.
it's either people like that, or just people who are unapologetically creating cute things that are entertaining. That's also one of my inspirations.
Oh, we try. We try. We're in the clouds, for goodness sake. We're in.
Yeah, I love this setup. I feel right at home. Yeah.
Yes, I bet you do. Some people get in there like, "Oh, wait, we're in the clouds." Um, but yeah, no, I am inspired by lots of different people, and I think trailblazers in uh, areas are amazing, and especially people who are carving a path that hasn't been done before, and they demonstrate consistency and passion and resilience. It's
Mhm.
something we need more of, those kinds of women role models, and wherever we can find them,
And
take
we
full
need to
advantage of that.
afford them the time to tell their stories, because they're
Exactly.
probably wrapped up with a million different things, trying to spin 5 different plates at once while on a
Yeah.
unicycle. But we need to allow them to like either speak or write or
Mhm.
record or even podcasts like this, so that we
Yeah.
can get those stories out there.
Definitely. I think there are some incredible journeys out there, and I want to show as many of them as possible. I spent a long time feeling alone as
Mm.
a woman in gaming and being passionate in this space. And I don't want anyone to feel that way. And yeah, developing a caring, invested culture around women in gaming is something that I am incredibly passionate about. And having people like yourself on here demonstrating your incredible career, which I'm so amazed by and so happy, so proud that you've managed to cultivate this for yourself. It's incredible. So yeah, it's been so amazing hearing about it. Is there anything that you want to say to anyone who's thinking about getting into gaming or creating games, or what would you say to
Yeah.
them?
I would say that there's no better feeling than solving hundreds of little problems every day, and maybe 1 or 2 big problems every day. The satisfaction you get out of like, "Oh, I put it together and it worked. I wrote this line of code and it did what I expected," or maybe it did something unexpected, and that can be fun too. Just like finding ways to unlock your potential and your creativity is
Mm,
what will lead you down a great path in like games or animation or whatever a creative thing that you want to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be games, but there's people who find ways to, like, say, make YouTube content about games, or
mhm,
they will be a competitive gamer. And like, there's so many different ways that you can connect with games, and you can even share your story through games like Animal Crossing or The Sims or like sandboxes like that. Um, but I think for me, I really enjoy that day to day, like having my brain tick over on all these little puzzles and unlocking what they can do and how I can take a grand idea from someone else on my team and make it a reality. I think that's the kind of joy and the kind of excitement you can look forward to in this kind of industry. And if that sounds exciting to you, then you should either jump into something like Unity or Unreal and give it a go, or like find other people who want to do that and make something of it. So actually, one thing that I really enjoyed right at the start of my career before I landed my job here at Halfbrick was I went to game jams. If you haven't heard of those, that's where you get together with a group of people over a weekend, you have an idea or a concept, and you're just like, okay, let's see if we can make something as quickly as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be shiny and like completely like photorealistic. It doesn't have to be the next Call of Duty. It just needs to be fun. And if you can get through that and make something out of it, you'll probably find that you're hooked and you won't be able to give up.
Yes, I've heard of these game jams. I'm in a lovely Discord called Level Her Up, and
Ooh,
it's founded in WA. And yeah, they do jams, and not that I actually have any skills to participate. More than happy to commentate or document what they're doing, but
I'm sure you could help in so many different ways. Whether you're just like, okay, I'm going to storyboard this, or I'm going to
yeah,
like put together this audio, I'm going to video edit like a cutscene for you. Like, there's so
yeah.
many different ways. You don't have to necessarily be typing on a keyboard or in Photoshop to be a game developer.
Yes, and I'm becoming more aware of it. The more I'm, just surrounding myself in this soup, I'm actually amazed by not only the skills of these women, their journeys, but also just how diverse these roles
Yeah.
are. So incredible. Sammy, thank you so much. I I kind of want to see Fruit Ninja VR at PAX. Can we make that happen?
I'm sure we're going to return to PAX at some point when we have something that we are really excited to show the world. I don't have a say over explicitly whether that will happen,
Okay.
but I know that if we have something that we want to show everyone, we're going to make it happen one way or another.
All right. Sounds good. I'll keep on the lookout for it.
And one
Thank you
last
so
thing
much.
is just
Yeah.
get in touch with any community that you can find. Like you just mentioned one, but there's so many great
Yeah.
communities out there, whether it's a local meetup group or whether it's a Discord or whether it's a
Yeah.
website where you can connect with those other people, because that's what's going to motivate you and excite you to keep doing more.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in so many Discords, so many, but I get to meet network and meet so many different people from different backgrounds, and it's just fun. It really
Yeah,
is, and gaming should be fun.
it should be.
All right. Thank you to everyone who is listening on Spotify. Thank you to everyone who's watching on YouTube. It's always an amazing time, and I hope that if you are listening, you have taken away some messages or some inspiration for your journey in gaming. Thank you, and we'll see you for the next episode of COAGG Conversations.